Hey there everyone, in this video we're dealing with reading passage 2 from Cambridge 10 test number 2, test number 1 I guess, as far as I'm concerned. We have, as you can see through your screen, we have a list of headings and some true false non given questions. They're pretty much basically the same, and we have already a paragraph F which is already answers for us, and that is number 7 for us. I'm going to remove that just in case that we don't choose that mistakenly, because obviously matching headings, they look pretty similar all the time. So yeah, what else do we got? We have European transport system. Anyways, this is a really good format. Once you do the list of headings, you will have probably the chance to answer all these true false no given questions as well. But however, for this video purposes, I'm going to be going for step-by-step approach. So let's get started. It is difficult to conceive of vigorous economic growth without an efficient transport system. Although modern information technologies can reduce the demand for physical transport by facilitating teleworking and teleservices, the requirement for transport continues to increase. There are two key factors, they're saying. There are two key factors behind this trend. For passengers transport, a determining factor is the spectacular growth in car use. The number of cars in the European Union, EU, roads saw an increase of 3 million cars each year. I'm going to say that from 1990 to 2010. And in the next decade, the EU will see a further substantial increase in its fleet. Alright, so pretty much, paragraph A, what is it about? Paragraph A, although modern information technologies can reduce the demand for physical transport by facilitating teleworking and teleservices, the requirement for transport continues to increase. So they're saying, although if it doesn't matter how much you try to reduce using it doesn't matter how much you try to reduce the number of the proportion of usages of vehicles, there's going to be a lot more demand than physical transport. So therefore, to support the main idea, the author was giving two ideas basically. The two ideas were: for passenger, the determining factor is the spectacular growth in car use. That's number one. I'm going to take that. And let me actually underline that. And the other ones are European Union, so an increase of 3 million cars each year from 1990 to 2010. And in the next decade, Europe will see a further substantial increase in its increase table, which is a fleet. So basically, what do we have? A fresh and important long-term goal? No. Charging for roads and improving other transport methods? Not really. Changes affecting the distance goods may be transported, taking all steps necessary for trains drop. Environmental cost. Obviously, there is nothing about environment. Escalating costs. Escalating cost, if that, and there's nothing. The rapid growth of private transport. I think that's pretty much plans to develop major road networks, restricting road use. So I think that's number 8 for us. I'm going to choose number 8. So we're going to take that and we type number 8. Alright, there we go. And we're going to remove that as well. So take that and take this as well. Alright. As far as goods transport is concerned, I want to take that. Growth is due to a large extent to changes in the European economy and its system of production. And there we go. It's talking something there, something that is necessary. It's about some sort of network, I guess. In the last 20 years, as internal frontiers have been abolished, the EU has moved from a stock economy to a flow economy. This phenomenon has been emphasized by the relocation of some industries, particularly those which are labor intensive to produce. Production costs, even though the production site is hundreds or even thousands of kilometers away from the final assembly plant or away from the users. What is this idea about? So the first sentence, as far as goods transport is concerned, growth is due to a large extent in changes in the European economy and states of production. Right? So changes affecting the distance. Really? I think that's pretty much 3. Because it's saying that even though the production site or a site is hundreds or even thousands of kilometers away from final assembly plant or away from users. So that's number 3, I guess. It's pretty easy to understand the main topic about this. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to give number 3. Is that number 3? Yep. There we go. We have number 3. Take that. All right, and we're going to remove this. Still a pretty fancy way of showcasing. All right, now C. The strong economic growth expected in countries which are candidates for entry to the EU will also increase transport flows, in particular road haulage traffic. In 1998, some of these countries already exported more than twice. The strong economic growth expected in countries which are candidates for entry to the EU will also increase transport flows. All right, so countries already exported more than twice their 1990 volumes and imported more than 5 times their 1990 volumes. And although many candidate countries inherited a transport system which encourages rail, the distribution between modes has tipped sharply in favor of road transport since the 1990s. Between the 1990 and the 1998, road haulage increased by 19.4%, while during the same period, rail haulage decreased by 43%. Although this could benefit the enlarged EU, it is still on average at a much higher level than an existing member states. Really good paragraph C. Candidates for entry to the EU. This are so candidates for the transport trends in countries awaiting EU admission. Is it? That's pretty much what I think. So there are some of these countries already exported, blah blah blah, and they're including some trends, include road haulage and the decrease in and rail haulage. It's a really interesting one here. You got to think about this. What is that actually trying to say? So let's take some seconds. So what is haulage? Is some sort of increase. Let's say there's an increase in transport flows, which means, in particular, that means that exactly in road haulage traffic. Road haulage traffic means a haulage actually is a business of transporting goods by road railway. So it's like a delivery, but you just give money for that. And so another one increased, but rail haulage decreased. And I think that is this could benefit EU. It is still on average much higher level than in the existing member states. So that's pretty much, I think. Let's take 11. I think that's pretty much 11 because we have nothing more suitable than this. So I think we're gonna remove that. Okay. Take that now. Are we left with D, E? All right, we have 5 more. However, a new imperative, meaning importance, sustainable development, offers an opportunity for adapting the EU's common transport policy. This objective means they're talking about the imperative. So the objective means charting a fresh and important long-term goal. I think this is going to be number 1. Agreed by the Gothenburg European Council has to be achieved by integrating environmental considerations into community policies and shifting the balance between modes of transport lies at the heart of its strategy. The ambitious objective can only be fully achieved by 2020, but proposed measures are nonetheless a first essential step towards a sustainable transport system. So, which will ideally be in place in 30 years' time, that is by 2040. Yeah, totally. Number 1, fresh, new, imperative, blah blah blah. So, You know that you don't need anything any sort of a dictionary here. So I think that's number one. So we're gonna take that and put one here, and another fancy way of removing it. There we go. Now E. In 1998, energy consumption in the transport sector was to blame for 28% of emissions of CO2. The leading. Now it's talking about something related. Environmental cost of road transport. That's 100% number 5. It's going to be number 5 because it's talking about emissions of CO2 leading greenhouse gas. Obviously about environment, climatic shifts. So according to the latest estimates, if nothing is done to reverse the traffic growth trend, CO2 emissions from transport can be expected to increase by around 50% to 1,113 billion tons by 2020, compared with 739 billion tons recorded in 1990. Once again, road transport is the main culprit, meaning devil. Kind of really interesting way of using the word culprit here, since it alone accounts for 84% of the CO2 emissions attributable to transport. Using alternative fuels and improving energy efficiency is thus both an ecological necessity and a technological challenge. Yeah, that's going to be 100% number 5. So we're going to take number, what was it, D? Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, it's in E. Yeah. So we're going to take that. So what was it? It was number 5. All right, once again, as we love using our fancy way of highlighting, paragraph F is already answered for us. We're going to skip that for a second. G. The first approach would consist of focusing on road transport solely through pricing. Solely through pricing means only through pricing. So plans to develop measures require restricting road use through charging policies alone, charging for roads, and improving other transport methods. That's pretty much what I think, but I'm not sure yet because we had two suitable ones: charging for roads, but main heading didn't say anything about improving other transport methods, but and restricting road use through charging policy alone. This charging policy alone. All right, charging policy alone. G, 100% is going to be number. Is that the number? But I'm not sure. However, let's say the number 10. But I think that's not going to be number 10 even now, because the word restricting charging policies alone is something that is only through pricing, which is charging. All right, so I'm going to take that and we'll remove this right now and get rid of it. All right, this option would not be accompanied by complementary measures in the other modes of transport. In the short term, it might curb the growth in road transport through the better loading ratio of goods to vehicles and occupancy rates of passenger vehicles expected as a result of the increase in the price of transport. However, the lack of measures available to revitalize other modes of transport would make it impossible for more sustainable modes of transport to make up the baton. Right, yeah, still, sure. I mean, yeah, it's talking about restricting them through pricing only. The second approach also concentrates on road transport pricing, but is accompanied by measures to increase the efficiency of the other modes. There we go. Better quality of services, logistics, and technology. There we go. We have another one, and that surely has to be. What do I think? That surely has to be number 2. I'm going to highlight that number 2, just in case, because I'm sure about that. So let's take that for now. However, this approach does not include investment in new infrastructure, nor does it guarantee better regional cohesion. It could help to achieve greater uncoupling than the first approach, but road transport would keep the lion's share of the market and continue to concentrate on saturated arteries, despite being the most polluting of the modes. It is therefore not enough to guarantee the necessary shift of the balance. So they're charging roads and improving other transport methods. So paragraph H is about the second solution to achieve transport balance. They're saying that concentrates on road transport pricing, but is not accompanied by measures to increase the efficiency of other modes, right? Better quality of services, logistics. So the correct heading for that H is going to be number 2 because charging that is related to pricing. It's and transport methods is another. Transport modes. So yeah, everything is about number 2. And lastly, the third approach, which is not new, comprises a series of measures ranging from pricing to revitalizing alternative modes of transport and targeting investment in transport in the trans-European network. So paragraph I, a series of measures, and I think that taking all steps necessary to change transport patterns. This integrated approach will allow the market shares of other modes to return to their 1998 levels and thus make it a shift about. It is far more ambitious than it looks, bearing in mind that the historical imbalance in favor of roads for the last 50 years, but would achieve a marked break in the link between road transport growth and economic growth without placing restrictions on the mobility of people and goods. Yeah, taking all the steps necessary to change transport patterns. So, all those who's watching this video, I guess that you pretty much can get the main idea. I mean, they're pretty much going basically the same. There's nothing really difficult to understand, I guess, because why did I choose number? What did I choose lastly? So okay. The reason, however, all the time, the third approach about it's about changing the road patterns and so on and so forth, so that it's so that they're saying it is far more it's far better than it looks, and blah blah blah, and they said a link between road transport growth and economic growth without placing restrictions on the mobility of people and goods. Everything, literally everything, right? Literally everything about number 4. Taking all steps necessary to change transport patterns. I mean, yeah, come on. There's nothing more suitable than that. So now, once again, so not once again, but the next type of question is: the need for transport is growing despite technological developments. And I'm pretty much in paragraph A. We're just gonna say that. They're saying although modern information technologies, I'm sorry, we have some noise here. Although modern information technologies can reduce the demand for physical transport by facilitating teleworking and teleservices, the requirement for transport continues to increase. The need for transport is growing despite technological development. Of course, yeah, 100%. That's T, which stands for true. And we're going to choose a different color for that. All right. I mean, why? The reason is that although modern information technologies can reduce the demand for physical transport by facilitating teleworking services, the requirement for transport continues to increase because spectacular growth in car use, and the other one is an increase of 3 million cars in each year from 1990 to 2010. So yeah, that's pretty easy to understand. To reduce production costs, some industries have been moved closer to the relevant consumers. I think that's pretty much going to be in battle with B here. All right. What does it say? To reduce production costs, some industries have been moved closer. Relocation. This phenomenon has been emphasized by the relocation of some industries, particularly those which are labor-intensive, to reduce production costs, even though the production site is hundreds or even thousands of kilometers away from final assembly plants or away from users. All right. That's pretty insane. But that means this means that some industries some industries moved much far away from the relevant customers. They have moved closer. No, they moved hundreds or even thousands of kilometers away. That's false. So we're gonna take that. Cars are prohibitively expensive in some EU candidate countries. Paragraph C. See that. All right. Cars are prohibitively expensive in some. I mean, it's tremendous. It's really expensive. They're trying to say. EU candidate countries. They have EUs. They have an EU here, right? But it's only mentioned here, as far as I know, but are expensive in some countries. But the author does not really provide any information about the price of these countries, right? The cars or even cars, it doesn't really indicate whether they are expensive or not. So there you go. Therefore, we have an option not given, so I'm gonna take that. Gothenburg European Civil Council was set up 30 years ago. Was it? Gothenburg European Council has to be achieved by any rating. Really? But proposed measures are nonetheless. It's not their objective. It's that their objective is going to will ideally be in place in 30 years time. That is by 2040. But there's nothing sort of information. One wasn't really actually established. Another not given for us. By the end of this decade, CO2 emissions from transport are predicted to reach 739 billion tons. A recording in 1990. Okay. What I was trying to say. Energy consumption in the transport sector was to blame for 28% of emissions of CO2. By the end of this decade, CO2 emissions from transport are predicted to reach, according to the latest, CO2 emissions from transport can be expected to increase by around 50%. Sorry for that. Can be increased for 50% and to 1,113 billion tons by 2020, compared with 739 billion tons. So so I have my cat here. Sorry for the noise beforehand, guys. Yeah. Really? So 739 billion tons recorded in 1990. I think that's not. I think that's pretty much a false. So let's highlight that as a false. I'm sorry for the noise, guys, beforehand, because I have my cat who loves to disturb me. So yeah, there you go, guys. We have pretty much finished another passage. I have not been recording for a very long time because I am having several issues in my daily life. So yeah. Anyways, I really hope that you found this video really helpful. If you actually indeed did find it helpful, please actually subscribe if you haven't. Smash that like button. Comment if you think that I haven't discussed a particular question. And yeah. Thank you very, very much for watching, guys. Once again, if you found it helpful, please share with your friends and or maybe your family members and stuff like that. Thank you very, very much for watching, guys. I will see you on the next episode or maybe next walkthrough series. Have a wonderful time.